The research has been done on bullying and the results are clear. Bullying hurts kids. It can do serious, long-lasting, even fatal damage. We know that, and educators know that, and despite that, bullying still happens. For more than 10 years, the Ontario government put a lot of attention in stopping bullying in Ontario's public schools. There's been lots of research and lots of programs. As a result, when a child has been a victim of bullying in a public school, there are procedures the school has to follow to protect the child and involve the parents. If your child has been the victim of bullying, then you should know what the school has to do in response so you can make sure your child receives help and protection. I'm John Schumann, a lawyer with 20 years experience practicing education law in Ontario. In this podcast, I will explain what public schools have to do when a child is bullied. These rules do not apply to private schools, so if your child goes to a private school, watch my video about what rules private schools do and do not have to follow. I will start off with what is meant by bullying. The definition out of the Education Act is really long and comprehensive and covers a lot of things. It does not have to be physical. It can be verbal, written, electronic, or over the internet, or through other means. But to summarize the long definition, bullying is behavior that is intended to cause harm or create a negative environment for the victim. If the behavior is mean and exploits a power imbalance, it probably meets the definition of bullying. Bullying can be really hard to catch, even when educators are looking for it. Studies from 20 years ago showed that schools caught about 4% of bullying incidents, even when teachers were looking for them. Hopefully that is better now, but it's still safe to assume that bullying is hard to catch because bullies usually try very hard to hide it. For that reason, a big part of what schools are required to do is bullying prevention. Schools are required to have anti-bullying week. They are required to have Pink Shirt Day. They are required to put up anti-bullying posters. Schools are required to have a bullying prevention and intervention plan. And they are required to post those plans online where parents can find them. They are required to have gay-straight alliances. Boards are required to train their teachers in bullying every year. If those things are not happening, a public school is not doing what it is required to do. But since bullying is hard to catch, students need to know that it is critical that they tell when they see bullying. Bullying must be reported for a school to do anything. If a parent hears about bullying, the parent should also tell the school, preferably in writing. The school can't stop what it doesn't know about. But once it knows about bullying, it is required to take action. When a school knows about bullying, there are a lot of things the school must do. The parent should hear about that. Section 303.3 of the Education Act requires that whenever a child is harmed, the principal or a delegate must call the parents. Remember, bullying is by definition harmful. So when the student is bullied, the principal is required to call the parents of the victim and the bully. The principal must tell the parents of the victim the nature of the activity, how the victim was harmed, the steps taken to protect the victim, including the nature of any discipline for the bully. Despite what principals may tell you, the specific direction under the Education Act overrides the privacy laws about discipline. The supports that will be provided to the victim. The Education Act requires that supports be provided for victims of bullying. These are required, not things that the school can do if it wants to. The principal is required to tell the parents what supports are being put in place. It is not a question of whether they will be put in place, it is what those supports will be. The principal must also contact the parent of the bully and tell the parent of the bully the activity that caused the harm, the discipline being imposed, and the first time a student is caught bullying, the student may be suspended. The second time a student is caught bullying, Section 310 of the Education Act says the student must be suspended while the principal decides whether the student should be expelled. A student must also be suspended while the principal considers expulsion if the bullying results in harm that requires medical attention, constitutes sexual assault, involves a weapon, or is based on bias, prejudice, or hate against a group, or if the bullying behavior constitutes an unacceptable risk to other person's safety. These all apply whether the student has been caught bullying before or not. The principal must also tell the bully's parents the supports that are being provided to the bully. Again, those supports are mandatory, not optional. In addition, a public school principal must call the police if the bullying results in death, results in harm requiring medical treatment, constitutes a sexual assault, involves non-consensual sharing of intimate images, involves a weapon, is based in hate or bias against a group, involves a gang, involves extortion, or constitutes criminal code harassment. A principal may call the police about threats of serious physical injury, including threats made on social networking sites or through instant messaging, text, email, or otherwise through the internet. The schools have a duty to protect the safety of students at school. They also have a duty to remove barriers that prevent a student from receiving the full benefit of the education system. So the school must do what is necessary to accomplish those goals. That can include transferring a student to another school, often called a fresh start, providing counseling or social work assistance, addressing any mental health or other special needs arising from the bullying, including making necessary accommodations in the classroom or other places in the school. If your child has been the victim of bullying, then a parent's first priority has to be to make sure the student is okay. If the child is not doing well, take the child to a doctor, to a mental health clinic, or to a psychologist. Victims of bullying can always call Kids Help Phone. Get the child the help he or she needs, and then the school, and if necessary the lawyers, can sort out how appropriate help can be made available in the school. If your child is not getting what he or she needs after being bullied, then it is time to speak to a lawyer to make sure that he or she gets what he or she needs while at school. In Ontario, children are entitled to go to school and benefit fully from the education system. Bullying should not stop that. I hope you have found this podcast, video or audio, helpful. There are lots more episodes on schumannlaw.ca. Thanks for participating. We will do this again soon.